Welcome to This Got Me Thinking, where clarity comes from conversation and the ideas that spark from it. I am your host, Chris LaFay, and today I had the pleasure of chatting with Bobby Gillespie. And one of the things that I love about Bobby is he is honestly just pure chaos. It's every conversation that I have with him, I never know what to expect. This guy is the type of guy who will crash house parties back in college, and not the type that have, 50, 60, 70 people that you can just blend in. No, he would crash like cocktail parties with 5 people, all the way to getting into Michael Jordan's last NBA game courtside without a ticket. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And so I never know what stories are going to be shared. And what's great about what we talk about here today is this element of creativity where in complete chaos, you've heard the phrase move fast and break things. The thing is, if you're breaking things as you go, you're leaving this wake of destruction and nothing good is happening. And so this conversation centers around kind of actually the calm in the chaos, the boundaries that you put in, and the learnings, and how that shaped Bobby from running his agency back in the day to where he's at now. And so I'm excited for sharing this story.
I love that you said intentional. And when every year I try to have like a mantra. And I've had a number of them over the years since I think it was before COVID that I would go in and it was like, what do I want to improve on, or what do I want to do? And like, I remember one was give people the benefit of the doubt, because I would always be like, fucker blew me off. And then I would be like salty, but there was no reason to be salty. Maybe something happened. So I would be like, hey, hope everything's good. Like, get back to me. All good either way.
And your stress levels went down too, I bet.
Yeah, right? So, like, I was cool. I was chill. And it didn't matter, right? But this one was move with intention this year. And I really have been pushing that. A lot of folks end up in this reactionary existence. They react to things around them. And it's chaos that way. And it's really high stress, I believe. And there's a calmness to being able to be proactive. But the benefit to like marketers and creatives and creators alike with having some parameters in place. So think about it like this. How many solutions to a creative problem are there? I'll answer it for you. An infinite. Too many. How do you know what's right and what's wrong? You don't. I don't like that. So when you're coming up with solutions to a problem with no parameters, that's how you end up doing arts and crafts. And arts and crafts have no purpose. It's hobbyist bullshit. The most important, actually the only metric that matters to me, because I move fast, my clients want to move fast, and like, we don't want to move fast and break stuff. Move fast and make progress. Progress is all we want. We overwhelm ourselves with metrics. We overwhelm ourselves with seeking ROI. We overwhelm ourselves with saying that things need to be tied back to revenue, or it needs to be a clear metric. Let's simplify that. Put the parameters in place, right? The parameters allow us to be innovative. Move fast. The scientific method is there for us to use it. It fucking works. But what matters most? Progress. So that you do something, it doesn't work, or doesn't work to your hypothesis. that's only a fail if you don't learn and improve from that. And that's it. So like that scales to the biggest brands to the individual. And that's really what we want, right?
I have a great anecdote here. So, going back to talking about music again, I was hanging out with a new buddy of mine last week, actually, and really connected well. Loves deep conversation, not a shallow person at all. Wonderful. Found out recently that he A, plays music, and B, has just like a tiny little studio in his basement. Nothing crazy. He's got a couple of 1/4-inch jacks, a couple of mics, got a MIDI keyboard, enough to be very dangerous. And so I was like, you know what we should do? We should just jam together and just see what freaking happens. And you know pretty quickly when you grab an instrument with another person and one of you starts playing a little bit of music and the other person plays some stuff on top of it, you know within like 5 minutes if you're going to be able to jam and improv well with one another. And that gelling, that happened, which is great. And so we played around a little bit. We're like, okay, let's fire up Logic. And so we go ahead, we plug everything in. We put a metronome on there just so that we can stay in time if we wanted to do some stuff. And I was the rhythm guy, so I'm just sitting here playing like rhythmic chords, the same 4 chords over and over again. He's playing electric guitar, and we're, going, starting soft, building up bigger, dropping down soft again, doing the whole 9 yards. And, we did that for about 5 minutes. It was great. No verses, no melody, just music, straight music. And that was it. And it was good. And we're like, okay, cool. That's awesome. You know what we should do? Let's just go ahead and create like ourselves like a very simple chord progression. We have our chords for the verses, our chords for the chorus, and just like, let's structure a little bit. And so we just like picked some chords. It was almost like it was the first thing that I strummed. It was like boom, boom, boom. Great, that's the verse. The chorus, boom, 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 boom. Great, that's the chorus. And so we recorded each of those sections, and then he played on top of them, and we did them all separately. And the goal was to like, weave them together eventually once we kind of feel like kind of the rough cut of what it could sound like. And we got to the drums, and we couldn't find the drum beat. Neither of us. And he's a better drummer than I am, but we couldn't find it. Come to find out, this part doesn't really help the story progress at all, but come to find out that there was a 10-second latency on the drums, which is why none of us could find a groove, because as we were hitting these electric drum sets, we couldn't find the rhythm because it was delayed. But even with all that said, even though it didn't sound timing wise correct, it still didn't feel right. And we realized we were playing, this acoustic guitar rhythm with this very jazzy type of electric guitar sitting on top of it and more like rock style drums. And they didn't mesh well at all. It sounded fine. Like if you were musically able to kind of remove the latency piece and just listen for the like, do these two musicians kind of have a general idea of how to play together? The answer would be yes. You could hear the through lines. It's nothing I would ever publicize. But we didn't start with the structure. We thought we did. We thought we started with the right chord progressions and all that jazz to kind of craft this song, the 2-hour quick jam song sort of thing. But we didn't start with the right pieces of the structure. We didn't have the right boundary lines. We mixed accidentally 3 separate styles with, a 10 millisecond latency mixed in there as well too. And it didn't work, is because we went into this with this like blue sky mindset of just like, we're going to play whatever we feel like across all these different instruments. And at the end of the day, we're good instrumentalists. It sounded okay, but it didn't match up well.
Well, you think about that, like it's a great sort of microcosm of the macro. Like you did your first song without any guardrails or parameters or process. Like if you just jam together, you're like, we could do this. But then when you try to go to the next level, it didn't work. So many of us get by on that first or second rung without these things in place. And I'm not an ops guy. Like, I'm a relationships guy, but I know what needs to be in place to create. And you're like, okay, we're here. We've been getting by without any of this in place, but we want to go up here to the next rung and the next rung. Well, that's no longer good enough. And you got to be astute enough to recognize that and say, like, okay, well, what is good enough now? So like your bar of what's good enough, like constantly has to like elevate if you're growing a business, right? But if you're not, if you want to like stay a solo, then it doesn't need to elevate. It just needs to evolve. Because like what's cool now, what's relevant now, what resonates now probably won't resonate the same way in 6 months or a year. But if you want to grow, you got to say like, okay, to go from here to here, 10 to 20 million, 20 to 40, 40 to 100, 100 to half a billion. Like, well, okay, to just make those big jumps are completely possible. But it's not necessarily setting the parameters of like, how do we look like a $20 million brand when we're a $20 million brand? A growing brand should not think that way because they'll stay put. If you want to go to be a $40 million brand, well, then you got to look, act, talk like, produce, deliver, serve like $100 million brand. So a lot of people talk about perception and reality, like, oh, we got to align our perception and reality. I'm like, yeah, do that and sit exactly where you're at. And as they say, if you sit in the middle of the road too long, eventually you'll be run over. That's middle of the road thinking. So it's not perception and reality, it's perception and aspiration. So what do we look like now? And we want to be, a brand up here. It's like, well, we got to start optimizing for that every day. Well, how do we do that? For me, it's obvious and ordinary, right? And like people like us that are visionary folks, like I can see that future state. I know what that looks like. Let's get there, right? Let's charge there. But it's not move fast and break stuff. It's move fast and make progress. And optimize for that future state, that perception of like, people are like, oh, you're not a $1 billion company? You look like it, you act like it, you talk like it. And it's like, yeah, because that's where we're going. And that is how you get the right thinking. And that is infectious across the whole team. Because if we're saying that like we need to look like a $100 million brand now, that raises the bar. That moves us up that ladder. And then it's like, okay, well, then you're evaluating things not based on like, how do we want to be perceived? How do we want our customers to think about us? Like, freaking shoot for the moon with that. And huge progressive leaps can happen.
My takeaway from this is fairly simple, actually. How can you structure your creative efforts without stifling innovation? What are the boundaries that you have? Like whether you're a marketing leader, whether you're an owner or a founder, or whatever it is, it's easy to get caught up in your own head and just start chasing every single rabbit. I know this from experience. I've started and stopped multitudes of email lists that have gone out and blog post styles and structures and LinkedIn content activity and podcast activity, the whole kit and caboodle. And a lot of it over the years has not stuck. And it hasn't stuck for good reason. It wasn't within the appropriate confines. It was a shiny object, effectively. And so my simple challenge to you today is, where are your current boundaries? And are they helping or are they hindering? Do you need to go back and actually take a look at what those are and maybe make some modifications to them? And also, if you don't have any at all, maybe it's time to put some up. That's what Bobby got me thinking.